Hello and welcome to the pain and pleasure of living a life on purpose. Today I have with me Karyn Janelle Davis, who is a multi-dimensional woman. She has an amazing array of skills and her background is mainly with energy work, but she's also in the corporate field as well. So good morning, Janelle. I'm Karyn. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I don't know, Janelle, Karyn, sorry, I keep calling you by your middle name. But very well, I've made the connection online and listened to her recent webinar as a Strip Teeze artist, which is a bit of a rude awakening. So would you like to enlighten the listeners and viewers as to what that actually involves?
Sure. So spiritual striptease is a name. I'm calling it a process now because it's something that we're all doing in life all of the time. This stripping back of the layers of who we are. It's this living life on purpose. I mean, I love this phrase. So spiritual striptease is a book that I've nearly finished. Oh my gosh, I've nearly finished it.
So empathize, yes. Carry on.
And it comes from the metaphor that when a striptease artist is on the stage, she has chosen an identity. She has chosen a set of clothes that go with that identity.
Right.
She's chosen a music piece. She then goes about practicing or dancing to this music and with this identity involved as well. And then she removes her clothes, and there at the end, to meet all of the needs of everybody that's there, she is effectively nude or naked.
Yeah.
And I like the metaphor on this basis because we walk through life with identities, we have beliefs, we have capabilities and behaviours, we have a story, which is the same as having a song.
Yeah.
We walk through life, and when we're doing this without having a conscious awareness around it, we don't know any different. We think we are the story. We think we are the identity. We think we are the beliefs. We think that's who we really are. Yet if we strip all those back, what we really have is this divine expression. We are the naked or the nude divine expression happening on this planet right now. And so that's what this is about. And so the process around using the spiritual striptease is having a look at the identities and having a look at the beliefs and having a look at the stories that we tell ourselves and coming to a conscious place of choosing what they are so that we have this life on purpose. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I found really interesting is when you're meeting new people and you're introducing or having a conversation, it's always around the role, and that a particular role has a perception and it's different things for different people. And as you say, if you strip that role away, then it's really what I encourage people to do is to introduce, as you say, their story. So it's about your energy and what that is. And you're a very playful woman, aren't you? Yes. So kindred spirits there, it's and my book's called Life's a Load of Balls, which is to do with all the energy, and it's also the balls and the bollocks around all that conditioning and expectation, and it's like a huge weight in our shoulders. And I love the synergy between us, it's it's so cool. And what you're doing is helping people to see what those layers are in a different dimension. You say you're a multi-dimensional woman.
See, 12 years of my life has been teaching communication.
Right.
And coaching through that component. So the communication aspect, and my fascination has been, since I was really young, is how do we create our lives? How do we manifest the lives that we have? And so they've kind of combined now as age has come in and a little bit of experience behind me. We've kind of combined to understand that, well, actually communication is at the core of everything. How my body communicates with each part of my body, so my organs, how they communicate, and how, you know, how the spine communicates, and how all the different cells within me, how they communicate. And then looking at it from a broader perspective and coming into the multi-dimensional aspect is how does this factor of my communication and interact with the identities and the roles, like you say, that I have in life, and then the beliefs and the values that I have or that other people have, and then this is all communication too.
Absolutely.
When a group of people are communicating well, life flows easily and effortlessly. And when people are out of communication, or when my body parts are out of communication, or one identity is needing to do something and another identity, I mean, the classic ones that people will know about is, you know, my job requires me, or my business, or my identity as an income earner requires this, my family requires this. It's not coming together. But the communication between the two, chunking it up to a higher level, indicates that there's an overall being here that has these responsibilities and these roles to play in life, and how can I come into a negotiated space so that there is a harmony with it.
It's integration, isn't it? Because those different roles, there is a societal expectation as to how to behave, like in business. And I think the way it's evolving at the moment is with awakening of the feminine leadership and the feminine energy within the corporate world, you know, and we're sitting here in our homes without the hat and the suit and the tie and things. We are just raw beings. Talking to one another and enjoying the story as to where we are now and where we came to. And it's really about how you connected it all together. So you mentioned earlier about you've always known since a child. So what was it that you knew as a child that has brought you to this space?
Oh dear. Okay. So I had a dream as a 10-year-old. I guess my upbringing was very much connected with the spiritual through the Christian environment. But I had a dream at 10 that was really significant, and has been so vivid even as an adult that finally it's going, now I get it.
So you're communicating the essence of who you are is actually, the line is open now and you've got it, yeah?
Yeah, and the dream was so vivid that because I was a young woman, I was 10, I was on my white pony, which is called Midge, because I had a pony back then, and I was on my way to school. I met a man who at that time had a very scary name for me, but it's irrelevant now. It was just meant to be a message, and I get that. And we went into this hall, and within there were all these people wrapped in bright, just beautiful purple material, but they were struggling within this material, and I was helping them come out of it, and they were naked underneath it. And as a 10-year-old, I didn't see that as anything other than naked. And here's the thing that I've learned, is when I used to turn, in this dream, if I turned away from this man, or this being that was in my dream, he would try and strangle me. And that was scary in the dream. But in the dream also, if I turned and faced him, it wouldn't, there was no more fear. I was not being hurt anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And then would go back to taking these beautiful purple materials off of people, and then they'd be free. So I now make meaning of that with, it's about knowing that shadow aspect, or the things that we feel, or the things, and this is specifically coming back to the integration of bringing back into ourselves those parts that we've disowned, or that we don't understand, or that we're worried about or fearful of, is actually having a communication with it in such a way that it's healthy and respectful. And yeah.
So you're saying that the fearful side of things, so was that the personification of the man when you turned away? It's like turning to face your fears and taking those layers off. That's my understanding of what you're saying. Is that right?
Yeah, turning and facing those things that fearful of in life, because most of it's conditioned fear. Most of it's conditioned fear. And even now in life, if I sense anything that's just, you know, is out of my comfort zone, or that I don't know, I've got to go and sit within it and go, what is here? What's conditioned?
Yep.
And what is it really? Because it's just a bunch of sensations running around in my body.
It's all those balls. And you know, the title of my series, it's The Pain. There is so much magic in that pain. And a lot of people either deny it because there's a big thing out there about being positive, which doesn't acknowledge the scale of emotions that we feel within our body. And it's like, okay, the discomfort is a communication within your body to alert you to something. And, you know, I think we spend, in the Western society anyway, we spend a lot of time focusing on the written word, which is like 5%. Because you mentioned ponies, because I've done work with them. Have you heard of equine assisted learning? Yes. Well, I've trained in that and things. So horses are amazing facilitators because they've got no agenda and they don't speak. So, and you know, you've got 35% of it is non-verbal, but it is the tone, and the rest of it is the behavior. So the horses actually mirror behavior. And so you really have to hone in to the energy of it. And I think there's a real awakening for people to recognize our bodies are vessels of communication. And we can learn so much. And rather than doing the talking and trying to mentally identify those conditions, is actually listen to your body and create an awareness around the scenario that you're in as to what is comfortable or uncomfortable that makes you ill at ease, to establish the thought that's come in front of you that has actually created the condition. Because if we just go, oh, it's really hard to identify. Do you find that with your clients?
Yeah, I do. I think I'm hearing what you're saying. So, you know, I mean, the body's, I think of it like a gateway. The body's a gateway to everything else.
Yeah.
And this is why it's multidimensional communication, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, because, I mean, we actually store images outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
They're actually outside of ourselves. And this is why we feel like things are happening to us often. And our interpretation of them, like you say, is the most important thing. How are we making meaning of this image or this experience? Image is an experience, you know, the physical reality that we buy into so strongly, which is why we go to our body, right? And we buy into this physical dimensional reality often more than the 99.99999% that's not physical.
Yes. The space in between, yeah.
And so the interpretation can come from such a narrow perspective because it's all we know.
Yes.
That's all. It's just all that we've only known, this illusion. And so this is what we play with, right?
And it is awakening to help people recognize the multi-dimensions in which we live and connecting to our nature and nature itself. I mean, I found that going down to the Antarctica, we didn't have all the subliminal noises and things which actually are distracting. Oh my God, it was really recalibrating. And I came back like, you know, really zoned out. And it took me nearly 6 weeks to actually get fired up again onto a different level so that I could communicate on this plane, which is so different from down there. It's amazing. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Is it that pure silence?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I've never been anywhere where that pure silence exists, except for, to be fair, in my meditative space where there is an incredible level of silence, but it's not that you're talking about. I'd love to
Yeah, and it's because my great-great-great-grandfather, Sir James Clark Ross, he was a British polar explorer, and he used the Earth's magnetic field to navigate his way around the world, and he actually discovered the North Pole in 1831, and he was heading south to find the South Pole, but there was this gargantuan iceberg in the way, which is now called the Ross Iceberg, and the Ross Sea and everything. So, it's ironical how it's the energy is within us throughout the generations, and it goes back to the roots. Really, it's because I use the Earth's magnetic field to help people find their true north, and it was a couple of years, no, it was 2012 when I had made that analogy. I mean, again, it's only my own meaning of it, how I made sense of it, but it was the synergy of the two and bringing the nature together. And nature, as Einstein said, look deep into nature and you'll find all the answers. And it's, with your work, you're looking deep within yourself to find your true nature, aren't you? So how did you transition from the age of 10? How did your life roll to get you to the place where you are now?
So I was a very quiet girl, very shy, and I used to walk around like this at school. That was just normal, and if someone spoke to me, I'd go red. And I found I was fine one-on-one, but just with groups of people or things like that. And I seemed to go into an overwhelm quite quickly. At that stage, I didn't know what that was. Now I do. And I was fascinated by personal growth and development probably from 20 on, just fascinated. Well, a really significant thing that happened, I went and did colour and wardrobing.
Right.
As a 21-year-old. And, that was fun. It was great. And then I got clients. And what mystified me was, I'll come back to why I was shy before. What mystified me was I would sit down with an older woman, because I was only 21, and she'd have children, and I'd do a beauty makeover with her. And everyone I could think of, they would look in the mirror and they would say yucky things to themselves. And there'd be this sense of sadness that I could feel. And they seemed so unhappy. And then would do this beautiful stuff with their face and give them some clothes. And oh my gosh, then they'd look beautiful, and they'd look at themselves and they'd look beautiful, and then they'd still pull themselves down.
Yeah, because that's that thing that you're talking, they're putting the clothes on.
And I couldn't believe,
wow.
I couldn't believe the, how at the time, how unhappy people were. I didn't get why people felt so bad about themselves. So I just started looking and seeking information, and I came across NLP early on, and that's all I wanted to do. So that was, so then I realized, so then I went about building this. I wanted to be confident. I really, really wanted to be confident. I wanted to be confident so much. And so we'd done lots of learning paths, and then one day I just woke up and I remembered that I used to want to be confident.
Right.
And I was like, how did that happen? How did I go from not feeling confident at all to just feeling confident? Right. And I didn't even know when it had occurred. Right,
so it was a subconscious thing.
Right, so this is when I delved even deeper into how do we do this? How do we make ourselves up? How did that happen? There was such a gap. I was wanting, needing, and then all of a sudden it was. And so
you were guided by your intuition subconsciously, yeah? And what you were wanting to do was to establish how you could use that to help other people.
I was fascinated, and still am,
yeah,
fascinated with how we make ourselves up. And
the more we know, the less we know.
and so much of it's unlearning now.
Yeah.
It's really about unlearning processes, unlearning ways of being, and unlearning this gap. I spent a lot of my time in life, and that was most pain that I had in my life, was when I was living in the gap, when I was wanting something so badly, needing something outside of myself, and thought if I got that job or that car or that boyfriend or that whatever, then I would be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not like that at all. It's the happiness is in here. It's like that. Oh my gosh, the pain that I experienced in life was always in the gap. Was when I was seeking something that actually I already was. I just hadn't awakened it within me, or I hadn't realized it or seen it within myself. And I see this with my clients, obviously, too. Yeah. They're wanting something that actually is already inside them. Whether I'm working on can I just keep rambling?
You do. I love it.
Whether I'm working on a physical level, someone comes in and they've got a physical ache or pain, they're the best doctor. That person's body is the best doctor, the best psychiatrist, the best healer, the best knowledge learner, the best professor. They're the best everything. Everyone has the resources. Sometimes it's just about being the person to help them find that.
That's exactly what I said to my client. Well, I say to all my clients at the beginning, it's like, you already know all this. All I'm here to do is to help you, is to facilitate a process for you to tap into the wisdom that's already in you, isn't it? And we need someone outside to guide us. Yeah, sorry, I didn't.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Cool.
I think you're right. It's the strangest thing to hear someone say that to you. Oh, you've got it all inside of you, Karyn, and you're like, I'm not feeling that right now. So that it is why it is nice to have someone to guide you. There's a point I've noticed in this evolution of ourselves. We come from, first of all, we seem to come from a place of incredible loss and an incredible exhaustion and overwhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of the entry point.
Yeah.
To life, and then there's this crumble and this breakdown.
Yeah. And then all falls off like the strip tease. Yeah.
and it feels like we're falling apart, but actually we're falling beautifully apart in order to come back together in a new way, in a different way of being. And you said earlier on that often within the pain is the gift or the pleasure. That's definitely been my experiences in life. The deepest, darkest moments truly have been where the next gift has come from.
And I was making an analogy yesterday because of my deep connection with the ocean. It's that pain is like huge waves. It's chaotic, and the more you struggle, you use up more energy. And so the letting go and knowing that going with the momentum and letting that flow go, that it will, the tide, it'll go out and it will flow beautifully. And I think in that chaos, that's when people are trying to fill that gap in the chaos, and they find it hard to make sense. And it's helping them get to that place of connection to themselves and peace. And when you're talking about the meditation as well, it's fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating because the experience going through it's not a comfortable experience. In fact, it can feel like everything is falling apart. It can feel like that all hope is lost. It can feel like there's a little death happening, and there is, right? There's a little death happening. There's a loss of one way of being in order for a new way of being to emerge. And it's not a comfortable process. And when we still feel that we're being done to within that, it can feel very, I'm going to use some strong words, it can feel very abusive, or it can feel very, very horrific because there's a sense of still coming from a frame of loss, from a frame of I'm not whole, I'm not complete, everything's not okay, I need fixing. And so as we navigate from there, and we go through these little moments where we find out that actually in every moment we're safe, within every moment actually everything is okay, within what this beautiful now moment is, that there is the capacity to, we already naturally know how to link back into ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a natural process. What we're all talking about is natural.
Yes.
It may not be normal, but it is natural.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the norm is to be busy and fizzing and yeah, absolutely.
So the undressing is taking away what is normal, or what is seen as one way of being, one way of feeling, or one way of doing life, and coming into a more natural way. So as these things or experiences fall away without us having to grasp onto them to keep life being a certain way.
Yeah.
There's this incredible learning or unlearning that we go through. Is like, it's okay, there's always going to be another breath.
Yep.
There's always going to be another cycle of the moon. There's always going to be a new sunset. There's always going to be a new dawn. There's always going to be another moment. And in this earth time reality that we have, I believe that we come from a frame of feeling very finite.
Yes.
And so within this feeling of finiteness, I don't know if that's a word, but within this feeling of finiteness, if we focus on that, we miss, I think, the whole point, which is this beautiful moment of now.
Yeah.
In the great scope of, let's start off, in the great scope of this day, or in the great scope of this week, or in the great scope of this year, or the great scope of this decade, or the great scope of my life, or in the great scope of humanity.
Yeah.
It's an experience that we're having.
Yeah. So you're talking about that pain. What have you experienced your own pain of that feeling of loss and grief, and how did you get through it?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I have not lost anybody in I've lost relationships that I had held to be the be all and end all, and this is what was most important, and my life needs to end now because, oh my gosh, that can't possibly carry on like this anymore. And so my deepest, darkest moment that's just coming to mind now would be when I went and I was on the kitchen floor, and all I can remember was it was dark. I was in the deepest grief feeling mode that I had ever experienced. It felt like it was consuming me. It was an endless pit of sorrow, sadness, victimization, and it was very raw and real. And I didn't want to carry on living. And I had 2 children, and if I didn't want to carry on living, then I would probably have to take their lives in order to, so that they're not left alone. So the process at that time was a very deep, traumatic experience of wanting to no longer be here. And the crazy thinking was, therefore, I can't leave my children to be by themselves. Now, in that moment there, was a light bulb too, because it was so deep and dark. I did manage to reach my hand up onto the bench and to grab onto the phone. So there's a connection external to myself that I made, because within myself at the time, I could see no hope. I could see nothing. It was black matter. That was,
Mm-hmm.
And so in my extending out to reach somebody, didn't even matter now whether I connected with anyone or not. It was the fact that I knew to connect.
Right.
To ask outside of myself. And of course, when we come to another person, even if they're not an incredibly empowered person at that time, there's still another perspective.
Yes.
Another way of looking at something. And
it's the humanitarian. We cannot but help ourselves be compassionate when we are with someone in that space, can we?
And one of the most beautiful things to do for somebody who's in that space is to just be with them. Don't try and solve it. In fact, the best, most empowering thing, according to me, that you can do for someone is to let them go through it.
Yes.
But know that they're wrapped in a beautiful love, or that you do appreciate them, or whatever you can, even a touch, or just saying, I'm here for you. Because otherwise, what happens is, then this person, this deep, dark moment, which was me then, I have a choice. I have a true choice. And I took myself to that true choice, which is that little death again.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, I went to bed and I woke up the next day, and the new light of dawn always provides a new opportunity, right? A new way to show up in the world, a new way to participate in the world. And from that day on, I chose and decided to live, to be a mum, to actually participate in my life consciously. Like, actually, if I have to be here, I'm going to enjoy.
On purpose. You made a deliberate choice and you're doing it on purpose, consciously. And that's because I think there's a great big misconception around the word purpose, and you've really helped to point that out, that it is a conscious choice.
It was a conscious choice, and I consciously chose to then be a mum. Every morning when I woke up and little fingers would be tapping on my leg, or then it was a choice, and I purposely, like you say, chose to participate as a mother then, because I don't know that beforehand. I think I was doing mum.
Yes.
But then I purposely chose to participate, and I purposely chose, and then things started evolving from there, as I purposely chose to put things around me that when I looked upon them as an item, that I felt a sense of joy and connection with. And if it didn't bring that to my life, then it's okay for it to go.
Yes.
And
yes.
and I became less and less attached to things, and even to people, but in the most beautiful way, because if there was someone with me, I'm with them.
Yes. Yes.
And if there's somebody, something in my space, then I'm with it. I stopped trying to be somewhere else other than where I was.
Yes.
I don't live for a holiday now, or I don't live for next week, or for this thing to be over. Right now, right in my space currently, I've got a big tender that I'm dealing with one of my businesses, and it's, I'm not wishing for that to be over, because that's wishing it.
Occupying your mind. It's not taking up space in your mind, because you are in the moment. You are here now, from moment to moment. You're not preoccupied. Well, there's a part of us, we cannot but help it, but you're consciously focusing on the moment that you are in, so that you are not overwhelmed by the other shit around you, basically.
Yeah, and I'm also not bringing my future into my now.
Yeah.
I'm not bringing my past into my now, although they're already there present.
Yeah, yeah.
So my future and my past exist right here, right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not wishing things away anymore. I'm not waiting to mow the lawns in order to be happy. Oh, that's a joke. It's like, you know, oh, when I get this done, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm going to be happy during the process.
Yeah.
I'm going to be happy, even if it's a difficult task. I'm going to find some joy in it. I'm going to be purposeful with it, because this too will be over.
Yes. So how long ago was that pain that you were talking about?
15 years ago.
15 years ago. Yeah. And so the pleasure, when you look, when you feel that experience inside you, having gone through it, there is the magic in it, because, as you say, there was that spark, and that spark was the light within you that's saying that you've got a choice in this moment. And I think it may be a poignant place to say it, because a lot of people that I have interviewed, I would say 80% of them have been to that dark space. And I also know people who have had family members or friends who have not taken that choice. And it's an understanding. And I think for the young ones out there, or anybody in that space, is actually to reach out. There is no shame in asking at all. And I think, you know, by the nature of what we're doing, there's a lot of misconceptions about therapy, counseling per se, but actually I see it more as facilitating. You're walking alongside someone, and that is what we need to be doing, because the Western society is all about the bravado and doing it on our own and proving that our worth and things. And actually, it's in order to increase that power and ability, it's the collective energy of everybody involved that's really important.
Yeah, because we are a singular cell so I'm a singular cell, you're a singular cell, but we need, or we are, whether we need or not doesn't matter, we are actually a part of a whole.
Yes.
So my single cell in my heart, one of them, just one, if I isolate one tiny single cell that makes up my heart, which is an organ that is part of a system that makes up my whole body.
Yep.
You know, we kind of, this is the micro macro component.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my puppy. The micro macro version of every cell has intelligence and a memory. I'm sorry about the barking. Somebody passed my house without a permit. And puppy is not happy about that.
Lovely.
He is the mayor of the street.
I love it.
So, I was talking about cells. So the singular cell is dynamic, magic, exquisite. Yes. The environment around the cell is where I play, which is why I call it multidimensional connection. Yeah. Is playing in the black matter, playing in the actual environmental matter around each cell. And so I think what I'm hearing you say too is, so I'm a cell, you're a cell, and if I need help, to reach out to another cell, because there's wisdom within the other cell. And the environment connectivity between the two of us, because when there's more than one, we come together.
Yeah.
There's more than one. It creates a dynamic that enriches and engages.
Well, it cannot exist on its own, and I think, you know, that is the nature of Mother Earth and, you know, our environment, our internal environment and our external environment. It's connecting to ourselves allows us connecting to all the cells within our body that talk to each other. That communication you're talking about, and then it allows you in turn to connect to your external environment, and you can integrate the two of them together.
A lot of it's done out of our conscious awareness, of course, right? and a lot of it's done in the space of the unknown, which is where trust comes in. Yeah. And I think this is the thing that is really appropriate to bring into this pain and pleasure conversation, is my level of ability to trust in self and the greater beingness of all. As that increases, so does the joy in my life. Because when I couldn't trust myself, I couldn't trust other people. I certainly couldn't trust an unseen force.
Yeah.
Although I might call to that unseen force in those moments of despair.
Yeah.
So the capacity, and I think faith, the word faith comes in here to go, there's a level of faith and trust that brings in the magic, because we don't know how this gravity thing works, not really, but there's a faith that if I step out, I'm not going to disappear up into the sky. there's an internal faith that and trust that as we blend with it more and more and more and more, that we as human beings can just find more joy and more connections, like with you and me connecting. I mean, you're right. The two books are just hilariously fabulous together.
I definitely think we need to do some double act of some form. Strip tease and balls has got a lot of connotations.
But it is bringing back the playfulness. Spiritual, multidimensional spiritual, all that sort of thing can be perceived or rejected in such a fast way because of past experiences or because of mass conscious beliefs about what religion is or shouldn't be, or the wars and the things that are around that, or the spookiness around spiritual. But we're spiritual beings anyway, whether we want to admit it or not.
It's that internal force. It's connecting to that essence. Now, I mean, I have to make a confession. When I was 13, I went to a convent, and I felt really out of place because they were very hypocritical. And then my first true love was he was a very Catholic family, and he was really abusive, physically abusive, and I just saw a lot of hypocrisy around religion, and the word God really did not resonate with me at all. And so I've struggled with this concept and spirituality now, because of the perceptions out there that spirituality is really woo-woo and hugging trees, but since I have done a lot of study in the quantum physics and things, my God is my guide of direction. I'm obsessed with anagrams because they are my code, my message, and how I remember things. And that guide of direction is our internal compass. And so now I don't see God as a man up on high. That is how I connect, how I communicate with myself, and how I establish my own faith. And if I go back to your conversation, right at the beginning, you were talking about your dream where there was fear. And here we are at the end of our conversation, and you're talking faith. Now, in the work that I do, it's all connected to the root chakra. It's connecting to our roots. And the faith and fear are the different poles that we live on, and the balance between them is a connection to ourselves, and that is what's so important. But to acknowledge both of them will help you get to the place you are in the middle. Yeah, cool.
There's just so many, part of what the spiritual Strip Teeze process is that I also look at is the judgments that we make because of the perceptions or the stories that we've been told. And I certainly know most of the beliefs I've navigated through, or the judgments that I've been navigating through or have navigated through. Most of them are borrowed. They're not even ones I came up with myself as a little child, right? I didn't make these things up. They were just kind of borrowed. They were accepted because, in those very informative years between conception and let's say 15, or 7 probably, the first one, we're just a sponge. We're just taking in the environment around us, and we're amazing learners. We're magnificent. And this is where these borrowed beliefs come in, and they're actually given to us or passed on by people who have already borrowed them from other people. And so they're coming from a mass conscious space, and so this navigational, this peeling back of them allows us to go, well, they're just words. I mean, spiritual is just a word, religion is just a word, and they're all through an interpretation of words, right? Things that are written down, interpreted. And I'm deeply respectful to anybody who has any religious beliefs or any non-religious beliefs, or believe that they have no beliefs at all around that sort of thing. I don't mind. I don't mind anymore.
Yeah.
I used to. Yeah.
And it is an understanding, and I think the basis of all our roles is facilitating that process through the pain that we have been through and being able to connect to ourselves, that conduit to the intelligence out there, which is the multidimensional communication that you're talking about. We are the conduit, and it's really just awareness and opening our eyes, because 95% of what we do is that learned conditioning that we're not aware that we are carrying around, and that is actually directing us. So by having that place, we can sit with it and we can think, oh, it becomes opening our eyes, allows us to see the bigger picture, and then in it we have the choice that you were talking about. It's like, oh, now I feel a bit more informed because that's how I've been guided. Is it still pertinent to me? Do I want to hang on to that one, or do I want to let it go? Yeah. So if in your beautiful place that you are now, with all the wisdom you've acquired from all the pain that you've been through, what advice would you give your childhood self?
Yeah, it would be have fun.
Yes, awesome, love it.
Fun. It would be have fun, and it would be probably a series of them. Have fun, take things far less seriously, and continue with the gift of seeing the potential in every single person
and everything around you.
Yeah, that curious nature of just seeing the good in people.
Curiosity. Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert, Who Did Eat, Pray, Love, she talked of curiosity is the driving force, and I think with the conditions that we soak up, it actually kills that curiosity, because we then feel we need to comply and put that hat on, put our clothes on as adults and take that role. But actually inside all of us, it's that inner child going, come on, play.
Well, I would be just definitely that, and everything's always okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Everything is always okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Karyn. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you, and long may our connection continue.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Bye.